If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about today's video. And as I always want to preface by saying, I am not a basketball expert. I'm just a fan who's naturally obsessed. And in today's video, we're going to talk about a story that was kind of going around social media yesterday. I saw a glance at it on Friday, but it didn't really blow up the way it did yesterday. And that's the Dallas Mavericks strongly considering to pursue Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls via a sign and trade. Now, that's pretty significant if it turns out to be true. And again, as most of you know, I always like to use the phrase hypothetical because none of this has been confirmed. And I want to preface and put context into the hypothetical because I say it all the time and I still have some people who can't comprehend the word hypothetical and try to argue me in the comments, oh, that would never happen, oh, you're wrong. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just if this was a situation that was to occur, we talk about it as fans and see how it could potentially unfold. That's it. I'm not trying to argue it. It's to have conversation on what it could potentially take to make it happen. And if it does happen, what would it look like? So, that being said, Zach LaVine to the Dallas Mavericks would be huge. It would be huge because I think that's a legitimate number two for Luka Doncic. I have mad respect for Jalen Brunson. He played phenomenal throughout the playoffs and played very, very well throughout the regular season. But I do not think that for a number two option next to Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson is the guy you'd want to build around. So that's just my opinion. I got a lot wrong about the Mavericks in the playoffs, but if you agree with that or not, please let me know in the comments down below. But Zach LaVine is a legitimate number two option. I was going to say could be a number one, but I'm not so sure about that because all the years that he was a number one option in Chicago, granted, I'm not going to be a hypocrite because this argument against Zach LaVine is exactly how I defend Devin Booker. Everyone wants to go with, oh, if he was a legitimate number one, how good could he potentially be? And I tell people that from an outside, clearly because the Suns were so bad and they weren't on national TV anywhere, you didn't follow them close enough to realize Devin Booker was playing with a bunch of old men that should be retired or a bunch of players that should be in the G League while overcoming coach year after year after year. Zach LaVine has dealt with very similar dysfunction throughout his NBA career. So I don't want to say I don't think he can be a number one option, but what I will say is he can for sure be a terrific number two option, especially next to Luka Doncic. And this story is also significant because there was talk all year long about Dallas potentially going all in to try to acquire Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz. I love Rudy Gobert. Obviously, there's significant limitations to his game offensively, but defensively, he's one of, if not the very best center in the NBA. And I personally think he's the best defensive center in the league, but I think you can make an argument based off of where he is somewhat, his defensive skills in some areas aren't as good as where he's great in just about every other area. And he's a perennial defensive player of the year candidate year after year after year. But I think there's something to be said about the way the Mavericks play and what we learned about the Mavericks in this playoff run for the better. Can they get better in some areas defensively? Absolutely. But with this small ball lineup that they were playing for basically the entire year, I know Porzingis was there up until he got traded to the Wizards, but Porzingis isn't really a defensive threat despite being, 7'3". He can play defense just because of how tall he is and how long his arms are, but he's known mainly for his offense. Gobert would be great for that team, would fill a major hole in the size deficiency that I personally thought was going to be their doom in the Suns series. But the small ball lineups they threw out there going off of pick and roll, they had massive success against the Jazz and the Suns. But with Zach LaVine, I feel like you get a much more consistent offensive option. You get an all-star, not a superstar, but an all-star who has potential elite superstar skill set. I don't think we're ever going to see Zach LaVine get to that status. Unfortunately, he's capable. He's got the star power, but going in the situation he's in right now, and then if you were to get traded to the Mavericks to be Luka Doncic's number 2, which there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And if anything, I would look more highly at Zach LaVine, because what are you doing if you're not trying to go to a situation where you can win? Plain and simple. How you go about it, we might be a little judgmental, like a Kevin Durant to the Warriors scenario. But at the end of the day, and I've said it before, do I kind of judge Kevin Durant for joining a 73-win team and a team that they blew a lead against? Yeah, a little bit. But I can understand and appreciate the fact that he went there because he wanted to win. And it's the same thing here, to a much lesser extent, because the Mavericks aren't some sort of juggernaut, but you could be looked at potentially as one of the missing pieces to go even farther next year. Because the Mavericks are going up. There's no way around that. Like, the Mavericks are only looking up from here. So, again, hypothetical, not too sure right now if that is an option that they want to go, what a trade would look like, other than it would be a sign and trade. And one of the pieces that I think is a surefire to be included is Jalen Brunson, because he's a free agent, and I think you would sign and trade him, so you do a sign and trade swap, which could be very beneficial, because I made a video yesterday about DeAndre Ayton, and me doing more research, I noticed that I overlooked the loophole in the collective bargaining agreement, which puts a cap on if you are signing and trading a player to a team, that limits how much salary you can receive back. So, for example, DeAndre Ayton signing a max contract to be signed and traded would be a cap hit of $30.5 million next year. So you'd be sending $30.5 million to that team, and the Suns can only receive back roughly $19 million in salary in a trade. So that really puts a limit on what you can receive back. But in this case, if you have two players that are being signed and traded, it balances out a little bit. Zach LaVine, I think he's going to get close to, if not get a max deal. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not saying I think he's worth it. I'm just saying, with the going rate of players that have received max contracts before, you can make a very, very, very strong argument. Zach LaVine deserves it if those guys got it. So I think that happens. And Jalen Brunson, he's not going to get a max deal, but he's going to make significantly more money than he was making being a second-round pick. So you take that salary, and if you're the Mavericks, you probably have to add a few pieces here and there. I think they might look at trying to include a Bertans, maybe a Dinwiddie, but I'm not speculating on that. I'm saying it out loud, and I'm thinking to myself, no, because I know they like Dinwiddie. I know they really, really like Dinwiddie. He was great in that final stretch of the regular season for them. He had some really, really good moments in the Utah series. Wasn't great at all until that Game 7 against the Phoenix Suns, and really wasn't great against the Golden State Warriors either. But all in all, I don't think they're going to hold that postseason against him. I think they really, really like Spencer Dinwiddie, and that he is going to be a part of that team going into next year. But yeah, no, I was reading a couple articles about this, and it really piqued my interest, because I really, really like this trade for the Dallas Mavericks. I think it definitely makes them better. I think it gives Luka Doncic the number 2 that he desperately needs if he wants to take the next step in his career and have playoff success. And that just makes the Mavericks one of the many teams going into next year that could potentially win the West. I really do. I mean, the West is going to be stacked next year, and this is pre-free agency and draft. Because I'm telling you right now, the Warriors, they're going to be here again next year, and I think there's a strong chance they might be even better. The Clippers are getting Kawhi Leonard back. They're going to be better. The Nuggets are getting Jamal Murray back. They're going to be better. The Suns, I know a lot of people are down on the Suns, but I don't think there's any question at all that they're going to be making some moves, trying to get better, and they're not going to, if they do take a step back, it's not going to be such a step that they're not going to make the playoffs. I promise you, the Suns are making the playoffs next year. The Timberwolves, I think, are going to be better. They were such a fun team to watch all year long, and Anthony Edwards is that dude. Karl Anthony Towns, not my cup of tea, but I can't deny he's great. The Memphis Grizzlies, phenomenal young team. I think they could easily win the Western Conference next year. They're going to be better. It's hard for the Lakers to be any worse, so I'm pretty confident in saying they're going to be better. I think the Pelicans are going to be even better. The West is just so stacked right now. You have to do whatever you can to put your team in that conversation, and if you feel like you have a good team, you have to take that next step into trying to make a good team into an even better team, and Zach LaVine makes a good team an even better team. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Is Zach LaVine a good fit for the Mavericks? Would you rather them still try to go after Rudy Gobert, or is there someone else you think could potentially be available that you'd like them to go after? Please let me know in the comments below. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, guys.